Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm MrGears and welcome to Max Payne 3, specifically the multiplayer. Before we even get started, this game ticks a lot of my boxes for me in terms of features. It's a third-person, cover-based shooter with a good physics engine and decent character customization within the multiplayer. Speaking of which, that is what this video is going to be focused on, the multiplayer. I've seen plenty of people out there either praising or bashing the single player, but most of them didn't even mention the multiplayer, which in my opinion is fairly good and in some ways pretty original. Let's start with what's good about this game. Firstly, this is a game by Rockstar, so, as you'd expect, quality is a given. The controls are tight, if basic, and I've rarely had any problems with character movement. The game feels weighty, both in characters and in guns, and the slow motion bullet dives give the multiplayer its hook. But overall, the best thing about the multiplayer, besides how solid the combat is the classic Rockstar attention to detail. If you equip a flak jacket, it will protect your torso and nothing else. In fact, if you're wearing a light flak jacket, it will only even protect the front of your character. The characters move believably and the game has a cinematic edge which does not invade on the gameplay, as it does in the single player, and Max Payne's gritty narration ties it all together. However, this game is not without its share of problems. The multiplayer is unfortunately unbalanced. High levels straight up are better. The weapons are all upgrades rather than side grades, and heavy armor just seems to be better than light or medium armor. Also, as you level up, your weight capacity increases, which will take away any balancing effects of the better items anyway. Also, as this is a fairly new game and one with a physics engine, there are still its fair share of bugs within this game, mainly in the bullet dodging system and occasionally in animation. They're nothing game breaking, but they can be immersion breaking at times. Also, although the levels are extremely detailed and well put together, there is only a very few amount of them, and even with the recent update for the game with the new DLC, the maps clock in under 10 maps, which is they just quickly get boring, to be honest. However, that is basically all the problems I have with Max Payne 3's multiplayer. I find it highly enjoyable and the real effort put into it by Rockstar really pulls it all together, even if I do suck at it. The game is primarily split up into two groups, free aim and soft aim multiplayer. The free aim multiplayer has not got any auto aim whatsoever, and is a refreshing change on consoles, even if it does mean you have to work even harder to get those headshots, whereas the soft aim is a well implemented auto aim. The game modes themselves start off classically and have a few interesting ones mixed in there. There's a deathmatch, a free-for-all, and a team deathmatch mode, and also those modes are available in hardcore format, as well as a mode called Gang Wars, which is extremely interesting. It's basically a little 5-chapter story arc. Each chapter has an objective, and whoever wins the objective progresses the story and gets 3 more lives in the final chapter, which is always a team deathmatch. It is normally well narrated with a little intro and outro line by Max Payne or one of the other characters of the game, and is a refreshing change and adds a dynamic feel to what would be a rather static multiplayer. The other big mode of the multiplayer is a mode by the name of Painkiller, where 2 players are kitted out as Max Payne and Raul Passos, another character of the single player, and they are well equipped with, retrospectively, Uzis for Max and an LMG for Raul Passos, and painkillers to heal themselves. And everyone else is just a normal soldier. If you kill Max or Raul, you take their place, and it's much easier to get kills and score points as Max or Raul, as you can only really get kills on Max or Raul normally. The game mode is highly tense and almost paranoia driven, as who was one moment your teammate is now the guy you were trying to kill, or vice versa. Leveling up will give you both aesthetic and equipment based awards. You can expect to unlock anything from new weapons to new trousers in this. The game's kill streak system works around the idea of bursts. You get adrenaline from getting killed, getting shot at, or generally being in the middle of a fight. This can be used either for your slow motion bullet dives, or it can be used to power your bursts. And there are about, I think, 7 or 8 bursts to choose from. The bursts range from anything from the one I currently have equipped called Stopping Power, which basically gives you ammo and weapon upgrades, to ones which slow down time, reveal enemy positions, or give you a health boost. These can be extremely useful and are triple tiered. The first tier will give you a small advantage. For instance, the one I currently have equipped, Trigger Happy, will give you just an ammo bonus, and whereas the second level will give you a more significant bonus, and the third level will give you a direct advantage. In this one, the advantage is a grenade launcher and ammo for it. One of the most interesting decisions Rockstar have made with this game is how character customization and the gangs work. You basically play your characters dependent on the level, and which gangs you play. For instance, one level might have you playing as one of the 2 street gangs, the Crusher Praetor and the Tropper Z. However, you would be able to completely customize how both your characters for those gangs look, at least along the limits of what's available for the individual gang. And in the free-for-all deathmatch, you can even choose which gang member you want to play as. For instance, here I'm playing as a Crusher Praetor character in this free-for-all match, even though I'm in New York. There are also several characters you can lock by either leveling up to the point of prestige style levels, or by completing the score attack modes, New York Minute, and just a normal score attack and getting the platinum medals on them. These characters can be used in the free-for-all and are often characters from the single player, such as versions of Max Payne, or, well, just other characters from the single player. For even just completing the game, you get the option to have a character named Bad Day Becca as a free-for-all character. As I have already said, Rockstar's attention to detail is something to behold, and another thing they have implemented is the different equipable items such as flat jackets, helmets and gas masks will look different depending on the faction you are playing as. Here I'm playing as the Crusher Praetor, as I have said before, who are a very poor street gang. I'm wearing a dirtied flak jacket and my helmet is little more than a World War II remnant, whereas if I was playing as one of the more militaristic or well-equipped factions such as the UFE, who are the death squads in Brazil, I would be equipped with state-of-the-art weaponry and a riot helmet. It's a really interesting, only cosmetic change which makes the different factions seem all the more different while still keeping the game balanced, as they didn't make the mistake of slipping it into the multiplayer gameplay. Overall, I rate Max Payne 3 quite highly. The controls are solid, the movement is satisfying, the attention to detail is always interesting, and the leveling up is enough to keep you there. Along with solid guns and some interesting game modes, this is definitely a good multiplayer game. However, unless you are a big fan of third-person games or are a big Max Payne fan, I would steer clear of this, or at the very least rent it, unless you have the money to spare. It is very good and interesting, and I would highly recommend it. However, I can see it may become annoying, boring, or just quickly grow stale to many people. Overall, I rate this game a 7 out of 10. If you're into these sort of games, you'll love it, and if not, you'll just find it to be a bit average, really. Okay, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again on another episode. I'm MrGears. Please feel free to like, favourite and subscribe. And hopefully I'll be able to put out some later videos. I might put out a second video of Max Payne 3 once I have reached the higher levels, to see if the game is worth playing once you've reached these points. Goodbye and see you next time.
ride came before the fall.